we need to figure out right here, right now, what the cold open is going to be. So what I did is I looked at a bunch of TikTok grifters.
Okay.
And I found their opening lines. Here we go. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do mine. You do yours. All right.
And we're just going to alternate back and forth.
Back and forth.
Nice.
All right, here we go. Stop scrolling and watch till the end.
I've got a secret and I need your help.
This simple hack changed my life.
For free.
If you want to achieve, hear me out.
You need to see this.
Just a quick reminder, this will blow your mind.
Because they are lying to you.
Everything you know is 100% wrong.
Why aren't more people talking about it?
This one mistake could cost you literally zillions of dollars.
In the next 5 seconds.
In the next 3 seconds.
In the next 1 second.
Please keep watching.
Please don't swipe away.
I will unalive myself if you stop watching.
Your attention.
Your attention, please.
Please.
Please, your attention. Please.
Your attention.
Attention!
I will unalive myself.
Hurry right away, no delay, stop today. Make your daddy glad you have had such a lad.
Are we rolling?
We are good to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hayes. Our life is defined by what we choose to pay attention to. But when I look at my screen time at the end of the day, that doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like I'm a hungover college student trying to piece together what the hell happened last night. I'm always like 2 hours on Yelp. I don't even know what Yelp is. That feeling like we're in a daily fight for control over our own minds, is what Chris Hayes, the host of MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes, set out to understand in his new book. It's called The Siren's Call: How Attention Became the World's Most Endangered Resource. And it's all about how this rectangle of sadness is so irresistible while also making us feel so shitty. So now that I have your attention, I'm gonna try to hold your attention with a conversation about attention. So please, pay attention. Cool. You are making the rounds.
I
Saw
am.
you on Colbert. I've seen you do podcast interviews. But it's interesting seeing Chris Hayes outside of 30 Rock.
Uh-huh.
People have been noticing something about you outside when Chris Hayes is outside. What do you think they've been noticing?
This?
There we go. There we go. Let's take a look.
I knew it.
I'm talking about Big Chain Pop Chris.
That's right.
So tell us about this chain era.
I grew up in the Bronx in the 1980s.
Okay.
In some ways, my entire trajectory in life is like getting back to being a 10-year-old in the Bronx in the 1980s.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if you feel this way about your like heritage, but the older you get, the more I'm like embracing that. And so
Okay.
I make pasta by hand. I make pizza by hand.
Sure.
I'm obsessed with Italian food.
Yes.
And all I want to do is wear like full Sergio Tacchini tracksuits with a big chain.
Got it.
Like I was like back in Morris Park.
You want to
neighborhood.
be in a Bronx Tale.
Yeah, I want to go back to my youth.
Yeah.
And so I had been telling my wife, like, I think I'm going to start rocking a chain. And then she bought this for me, which is $60 in brass. And by the way, is just discoloring my neck at all times.
Yeah.
Like, it's the cheapest thing in the world.
Yes, we
And I
have
was like,
we have it tucked in here on offline, and then here you're tucked in, which
I'm
is
tucked in, yeah.
which is the subtle, right?
Yeah.
But over here when you did Pablo Torre, and over here on Ezra's,
I just
This
experimenting
is
with
bold.
different looks.
yeah. But I'm saying if you go full Cuomo, go full Cuomo. I want Adidas tracksuit.
Dude, you should see me on the weekend walking around my neighborhood. Like I've gotten really into like Sergio Tacchini velour matching tracksuits, which
Yeah.
I now have like 4 or 5 of.
Oh my
And it's
God.
basically all I wear on the weekend with the gold chain as I walk my dog around the neighborhood. I mean,
This is surreal.
And then I go back and I like make Sunday sauce
Got it.
like for my kids with fresh pasta. And it's like, I don't know. It's weirdly, it is coming.
Yes.
The other thing is it was my 11-year-old son's birthday, and I just got him like a very
You got him a
small.
chain as well.
I got him a matching gold chain, so we look like twinsies. It's pretty funny.
Okay. So your new book is called The Siren's Call. And I'm just gonna I think everyone should read it. I think it is a really great summation of what it feels like to be alive right now in 2025. Essentially, and I encourage all of you to read it. But really what you're talking about is the incessant hose of information that is coming at us at all times. I'm talking about the bings, the dings, the NYT update,
Yep.
Netflix,
Yep.
MSNBC push reporting.
Yep.
All of it is just a bukkake of information that does not stop.
That phrase is not in the book, but well said.
Yes.
And
Just to be clear, I was
Yeah,
not a direct
no,
quote.
yeah. I'm not. That's not a pull quote. That's my Goodreads review of it. Chris Hayes talks about the bukkake of info hitting me right in my face.
Wait, I don't know what that. I'm going to Google that term. Let me see if that.
Don't fuck up your Safari history with that. Okay. But what I want to ask you this, MSNBC's Chris Hayes, why does feeling alive right now feel so shitty?
That's a great question. I mean, I think there's a bunch of layers, but let's start on the layer of what I call kind of the background hum of digital life, which is increasingly life, right? Like there's no distinction between, there used to be a time when people would say things like Twitter's not real life or it's not real life. It's like, no, it's real life. It's all real life.
Yes.
The central experience is an experience of what I call alienation. And alienation is just the feeling that something that should be within you is outside of you and is now made foreign to you. And because our attention is the most valuable thing we have, it is the substance of life. It's what our life is moment to moment, what are we paying attention to? And because that thing is a resource that's extracted from us, this thing that should be internal to us, that's constitutive of what it means to be a human, is constantly being excavated and extracted outside us.
Yes.
And that pull of having this thing that we should own appearing outside us such that we don't have dominion over our own minds is the ubiquitous feeling of alienation that makes us feel, I think, bad.
This low hum of, where am I? What am I
yes,
doing?
This
Why
low
do I feel
hum of
awful?
sort of dysregulation, this low hum of itchiness, this kind of jumpiness. Now, part of this, I want to be really clear, and I do write about this in the book, it's like part of it's a human condition. Like, you know, this is an insight that stretches back thousands of years from the Buddha to the Stoics to existentialist philosophers. Like, being a human means being trapped inside our own mind, which we can never outrun.
Right.
And there's all kinds of ways that can be, for lots of folks, hell or difficult or troubled. But our background sort of human experience is now being manipulated in this specific way within this specific form of attention capitalism in a way that just exacerbates that alienation.
In the book, you talk about attention like a commodity. Karl Marx wrote about labor being a commodity. How's attention a commodity here?
Yeah, I think this is the best sort of analog we have is the way that Marx talked about labor. So labor is something that massively predates capitalism. Like, people have been doing stuff as long as people have been around, right? So like the sum total of your toil and effort is a thing that humans have always had, right?
And you were able to dial in by, like, this is how much your toil and effort is getting you per hour. And we should pay you such for your...
Right. So that's the transformation that happens with capitalism, right? It becomes this commodity, this fungible commodity where every hour is priced and sold into a marketplace.
Yes.
And the weird thing about that is, similar to attention, like, that's all you have.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's like what you have is like, what do I do with my mind and body all day? That's the thing you have. All of a sudden it's being sold into a marketplace where it's worth nothing at the individual level. I mean, you're stamping soles in a shoe on an assembly line day after day, 60, 80 hours a week, and you're making a pittance. But to the people that are extracting it and aggregating all that together, they're making world's historical fortunes.
Right.
It's a very bizarre paradox of value there, right?
Yeah.
This is what Marx sets out to solve for in his labor theory of value. Exactly the same thing's happening with attention. Each individual slice of your attention as it's being auctioned off in a nanosecond on an Instagram reel to decide what the next ad you're going to see is like a fraction of a penny.
Right.
But it's also the only thing you have.
And the summation of these fraction of the seconds is literally your life.
It's your whole life internally, but to the company, it creates a vast fortune. So there's a very strange paradox of value. And again, because this thing, like labor and attention, are parts that we experience from the inside as almost holy.
Yeah.
But from the outside, they're just like a barrel of oil. It's that sort of weird division that's the source of so much of the alienation.
It is this feeling that I get of, oh, you're taking my soul away. That's the unique shitty part. But when I walk around Midtown Manhattan, I mean, this is the epicenter of cool. Don't argue with me in the comments. It is a very cool city. The city's fucking awesome. But I look around and it used to be the center of culture and fashion and cool people saying cool things or weird things or interesting characters. Scenes. But I'm seeing a bunch of motherfuckers walking around like they're playing Pokemon Go. Just full-on adults geocaching and trying to, I guess, catch digital Pokemon in the streets. why are we, what?
Why are we so susceptible?
Yeah.
to
Why
it?
are we so susceptible?
I mean,
to
this
it?
gets down to a core aspect of the faculty for attention, which is that its evolutionary function is to alert us to danger and compel it against our will, right? So this is so important. Like, there's a part of our attention, which is the attention now, which is like voluntary, where I'm listening to you, you're listening to me. Like, our conscious wills are being marshaled.
I'm
here,
dropped
right?
in.
You're dropped in. I'm
Yeah,
dropped in. If someone came running through the door in the studio right now, or someone fell, or a book, crashed, we would notice that before we got a chance to consciously decide whether we wanted to.
Right.
So if you're walking across the street in Midtown, you're looking at your phone, and you walk across a light that's green and a car honks, in order for attention to function, right, its primal function is that you hear that honk and it starts you going before you decide, like, do I want to listen to the horn or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that compelled involuntary attention faculty is there next to our voluntary one, it creates this opportunity when you start using massive machine learning and engineering at scale to essentially extract our attention via this compelled attention channel.
Right.
So when you talked about before, when you talked about the phone, the buzz of the phone, right? It's a great example. That haptic feedback, which is what it's called, which is hardwired into the phone.
Yeah.
If you have it turned on, it's sitting in your pocket, you don't get to decide whether you notice it or not.
Sure.
It's actually doing something biological, right?
Yeah.
And the reason it's doing something biological is because they want to extract as much attention as possible. And the best way to do that in competitive attention markets is compelled attention. So like, think about casino floors, Times Square, the phone. Where is attention most competitive? It's the places with the most like bells and blinking lights
Casinos.
and stuff that's trying to get you to notice even if you don't want to.
Yeah. In you talk about the idea of grabbing attention and then holding attention. So break that down for us a little bit.
Part of the thing that's really important to understand is that the difference between grabbing and holding kind of maps onto this sort of involuntary, voluntary, right? So like when the car horn honks, your attention's grabbed.
Yeah.
And the point is that anyone can grab attention.
Right.
Like, if you take anyone off the street and you say, I'm going to bring you through this auditorium, there's 1,000 people in there.
Yeah.
I want you to get their attention. Anyone can do it.
Sure.
You walk on stage, you'd be like, yo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you take anyone off the street and say, there's 1,000 people in there, I want you to hold their attention for an hour. All of a sudden, that's hard.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
And the difference is the difference between how easy it is to grab attention and how hard it is to hold it. How easy it is to play on that faculty of involuntary attention of the siren or the car honking or the dishes crashing to the ground or yo in the street.
Yes.
And how hard it is to do all the other work
Yes.
of keeping someone locked into you.
Yeah. And by the way, in your career, you have to simultaneously do both.
Yes. I mean, I think we all do, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I'm sure you think a lot about what, like, I find stand-up from a craft level super fascinating in this way, like what your first joke is, like what's the first thing you're doing?
Yeah.
And then how you build that and how you keep people.
Sure.
So in my job, like cable news uses a lot of those casino techniques. Like we've got flashing lights, we got like the banner that's scrolling, right? We're constantly like, we are using the like interruption. But the other thing I'm trying to do is like actually do storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Do rhetoric.
And hold your attention in a meaningful way.
Exactly.
And I think this is, we found this in a little research. You're oddly obsessed with carpet cleaning videos.
I am.
Okay. So speaking of attention, holding attention, what is it about those videos that spiritually speak to you so deeply?
Oh, because they have just a perfect story of catharsis. Like it's really just like Aristotelian poetics 101 because it starts out dirty and it ends up clean. like it's just and you watch it go from dirty to clean. You know where you are in the arc of the whole thing, but you also know in the end, like like a rom-com, like they're gonna kiss in the end, right? So it keeps me, first of all, it's super soothing, and second of all, it's just like the most basic form of telos, of progress, of narrative arc is, and catharsis, which is this rug was really dirty. And I know at the end of 20 minutes, it's going to be really clean.
It's the same
way. It's very satisfying.
My 5-year-old loves seeing Lego unboxing videos.
Exactly.
And
and they know exactly.
Yeah, and they love that. Oh, at the end of the 3 minutes, the Batmobile will be complete.
And what's so fascinating about that to me is that it speaks to something that in some ways is in direct tension, which with what I was saying before about like at one level, you've got this like weird casino flattening that happens with
Yes.
current attention capitalism of like the scroll of like the vertical video. But then you also do have this like wild experimentation of human appetites for things. Like no one would have in the old days, no executives would have greenlit a carpet cleaning show.
Sure.
But it turns out that it's really
Or
fun
like
to watch.
ASMR, like
Or ASMR
marbles in
or
a bowl.
unboxing, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So like there is a weird way in which like I don't want to underplay the fact that there is interesting experimentation that's happened where like our attentional appetites are both kind of they could drive towards the lowest common denominator in the way that like you can sell Coca-Cola anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But then also like people like all sorts of crazy
Sure.
stuff.
But I'll give you an example. The carpet cleaning video, the Lego unboxing video, the ASMR nighttime routine video, all of these kind of like little piece of cathartic filler pieces of content, to me, raise a larger question, which is why are we so uncomfortable with any moment of silence?
Yeah, but that is really the core of it. And this, again, this is one of those things that goes all the way back, right? To this, like the human condition.
Yeah.
And in the book, I write about Blaise Pascal and Pensées and Kierkegaard and Either Or, talking about boredom, about boredom as a kind of root of all evil, as a sort of, Pascal writes about how the king has every amusement you could want, but he can't be alone with his own thoughts for a second. And part of what he's identifying there way before we get to the phone era, because we're all the king now, right? We have an infinite amount of gestures in our phone, is that A, it can be hard to be alone with your own thoughts. And that's something that predates the phone.
Yes.
B, your comfort with your own thoughts is dynamically changed by how much you have to do it.
Right. Right.
So we all, I think of our generation, like we had the experience of reading the back of the cereal box.
Right.
At the breakfast table.
Yeah.
Of sitting on a couch and literally just like staring off into nothing.
Yeah.
And now increasingly we don't have that. And so I'm sure you have this, we all have this, like you park your car in a hydrant or double park it, you go into the coffee shop to get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
There's a line and you realize you haven't brought your phone.
Sure.
And you've got that like weird twinge of panic.
You're like, why am I naked? Like, I have no
well,
money?
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit here. What am I gonna do?
Right.
And one of the things, the only bit of like direct kind of self-help lessons I think I've drawn from working on this book is spend 20 to 30 minutes a minimum with your own thoughts every day. Because you actually do need to rebuild that muscle. It really is like anything else.
Sure.
Like you get out of practice and it gets harder and harder. But if you start doing it again, you find that like, oh, right, this is actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
And we're in a situation now where we never have to be alone with our own thoughts.
Did you guys hear that X is suing the New York City Attorney General? Elon apparently wants to challenge the Stop Hiding Hate Act because it will require X to disclose how much they moderate sensitive speech, claiming it would violate the First Amendment. Now, at HMDK, we just started using a platform called Ground News, which shows a breakdown of publications reporting on a story in which way they tend to lean politically, right, left, or center. Now, this isn't about eliminating bias. We've all got biases. It's just trying to make you aware of potential biases of different publications so that you can factor that into your own analysis of the issue. For example, with that story about X, I was able to scroll between some of the 43 publications reporting on that lawsuit. And I noticed a right-leaning one included a photo of Elon Musk looking like a business class SEAL Team 6, while the left and center chose photos that make him look like he's about to fire UNICEF. So you should use the link in the description or go to groundnews.com/Hasan, Hasan, to get 40% off their Vantage plan, the same one that I use here at HMDK. That breaks down to just $5 a month for unlimited access. Visit groundnews.com/Hasan and subscribe today.
Is it weird that when I read this, I was like, oh, Chris is going through his eat, pray, love phase. Like you are
Totally.
discovering Buddhism in a weird
Absolutely.
way.
And I mean, I also think it's not surprising that there has been all of this interest in mindfulness at exactly this moment.
Yes.
Because like the fact is, like, if you go back and you read like the Buddhist texts, like this is pretty core to his central insights.
Totally.
I mean, he phrases them, his framework for understanding them are attachment and desire as opposed to attention.
Right. But Hinduism specifically talks about how your mind is almost like a monkey. It is constantly
Exactly. Yes.
worrying and
Yeah, and so that part of it, again, like that part of it's ancient, and in some ways I think like the profundity of that ancientness is really helpful. Whatever technological age you find yourself in, you can't outrun your own mind, and you're going to be there with it.
Totally.
But I also think that, like, I was reading this essay about slave spirituals, and it's just so interesting. This didn't make it into the book, but I had gone down this sort of discursive rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about like work songs, and there's all this really interesting stuff about like why the work songs, right?
Yeah.
And you know, they're trying to relieve their own minds from the punishing tyranny of this brutal work, and also the fact they can't control their own lives, right? They have no autonomy.
Sure.
And the song becomes their own way, right, of like focusing the attention in a way that they have dominion over.
Oh, got it.
Right. So it's like empowering to like
This form of agency.
it's a form of agency when you have no other agency. Right. And like, but it's also like that question of where do I put my mind when, you know, there's when I can't, I get to control my body is a really profound one as well.
I'm going to go even deeper into this kind of like philosophical rabbit hole, because you and I, we're literally characters inside the slot machine. You are MSNBC's All In with Chris Hayes. I am somewhat known from Netflix and or YouTube. Okay. But our whole MO is to grab people's attention and bring them to our house of wares, but it's essentially just media. Yeah. We are chopping up content and telling them to take the Heisenberg Blue. We are selling crack on the corner of iPhone 16 Island. Like that is the essence of our job. Yeah. Are we part of the problem?
Well, sure. I mean, yes.
Am I the problem? Like, I've really thought about this.
Here's what I would say about this. I mean, I think the thing that I would say specifically about journalism, which I think is a little distinct, is that one of the things about journalism is that there are competing professional ethics that you learn from the beginning. Like, no matter where you came up or on which sort of version of technology you became a journalist, like I was writing for the weekly alternative paper, you had to get people's attention, like headlines, leads, like you want to keep people's attention, but that is not the only thing you're trying to do.
Right.
Alongside that, there's a whole bunch of other things, like I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm trying to give people the tools for self-governance. And I think it's actually really useful to have an ethos where you have these twin tensions that you're trying to navigate. Yeah. I think part of the problem in the world we have now is increasingly people get their information about the world from people who don't have any other ethic other than what will maximize attention. Right. And so,
and nothing deeper than
there's nothing else they're trying to do, which again, that's in some ways, it's like no shade. If you're making Get Ready With Me videos, like I don't think it's like bad for the world. Sure. But what ends up happening is like you're making Get Ready With Me videos, and then like you like say some stuff about the vaccine, and then that video really hits really well. Right. So then we start doing more of that. And then all of a sudden you're in this situation where people are getting their information about the world from a market that selects solely for maximizing attention.
Have you ever felt that? How do I beat the incentive structure of my own business? The news.
I think about it it stalks me every single day. All I think about.
I mean, I'll speak from stand-up comedy, which is the majority of specials now are on Netflix. And one of the things that Netflix tells you is, hey, you want to start with your strongest material up top, which is an inversion of what used to be the structure of your act. You have your closer. Build to your closer.
Right.
And now it's, hey, you better put your closer at the beginning. But
is that because they track when people are
totally and Chris may not be a fan of my comedy, but I need to grab you within the first 5 minutes. So hopefully you stick around to minute 8 or 30 or 60. But that's so as artists, as comedians and performers, we have to fight. The craft is asking us to do something more rich, deeper, and more dynamic. Yeah. Build. Like, let this be an intimate act that builds to this climax. And the incentive structure is the opposite, and those are intention. And so how do you, as someone who works in news and literally has breaking news, I mean, that word is saying, hey, break your attention, focus now on this. Yeah. How do you not let that mountain kind of destroy the credibility of what you want to do and what you believe in?
I mean, that is literally the defining struggle of every day of my life for the last 13 years. I've hosted a news show. I mean, truly, like the reason I wrote this book is because it's all I think about, because you know, attention is not a moral faculty. There's a great Walter Lippmann quote from The Phantom Public I quote in the book where he says, the American people have a great interest in what happens in Versailles. He's covering Versailles after World War I and the, reparations the Germans going to have to pay. He says, Americans have a great interest in what's going to happen in Versailles, but they're not interested in it. And it's like, this is the conundrum. It's like, I can feel like attentional pull here.
Yeah.
And these things I think are actually important. Now, sometimes by happy accident, they overlap.
Right.
And that's actually a good day.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's like a not tortured day.
Right.
Like yesterday, I'm talking to you the day after those big elections in Wisconsin. There was a lot of attention on that. That's a really important story. That's an easy day. The days where it's like, oof, this is really important, but this is a hard thing to do on TV and it's not really that attentionally salient, but this thing is a bright, shiny bauble. How do I mix them? Maybe I do this in the A, to your point,
right?
In the Netflix stand-up.
Let me start with the gaff.
Still here,
and then I'll do some weird
yeah.
clip of a gaff, and then let me go.
And the thing that's also interesting, that Netflix thing is fascinating because one of the things that's important to think about is how all these incentives structure the actual stuff that we do, right? So, we always lead with the biggest story, which is the A block or the headline. You're talking about building on the back end.
Yeah, build your closer.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you think about building the closer, though, right, think about the setting in which that's developed. Inside a club, people aren't going to leave.
Sure.
Right? Think about this. If you have recently had the opportunity to go back and watch a 70s movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting or something like that.
Yeah.
Bro, they're so slow.
Yeah.
It's crazy how slowly they develop. And the reason is, where are people going to go?
Yeah.
They just paid money to come in the movie theater.
Yeah.
You don't have, you've done it. They're there.
Yeah.
Now
do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, we're going to take 35 minutes to get to anything. That is now out the window. Right? All movies and TV.
I rewatched Caddyshack.
Yeah.
There's super long scenes.
There's this whole story they totally abandoned in the first part.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I was like, this wouldn't make it through the new incentive structure and the new model. Yeah.
And I think that, so part of that is the only way there's no way to resolve the tension that you're putting your finger on. Like, it is the animating tension of my professional career.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do is try to be self-aware about it. And the metaphor that I use for what I do is the metaphor of the sailboat, where you've got the wind blowing, which is the attention of the audience.
Right.
You can't just ignore it and be like, I'm sailing into the wind. You won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you also want to just go well, we're just going to go where the wind blows us.
That's insane too.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole point of it is you get good enough at the craft that you can take this energy, which is the sort of audience demand, the exogenous flows of attention.
Right.
And then you can use your craft to get to where you want to go.
I want to also talk about this idea of when we say pay attention. I want to ask you, how much attention should we pay to the news? What's the actual cost? Tell our audience at home, they're clearly people that want to be informed.
Yeah.
But there is a finite cost.
Yeah. This is a bit of an admission against interest.
Okay.
Meaning what I guess in some institutional sense, I should be you should tune into MSNBC all day long.
All day long. Yeah.
I don't actually believe that. I actually believe that
he said it here first.
For instance, the ritual of...
No, but you guys are the pay attention police, and pay attention. Democracy is on the line. And it is on the line.
It is. I think, look, the thing I tell people is the basic ritual of a morning paper or a morning, the morning paper or a morning TV show or NPR in the morning, something like that.
Yes.
And then the evening news or reading the paper at night that you got in the morning. That's a pretty good routine for knowing what's going on. Some, 2 times a day. In the morning, you read the paper, you watch Morning Joe, or you do whatever.
Yeah.
And then at night, come home and watch my show.
All 60 minutes?
If you can.
44 minutes plus the 16 minutes of ad breaks? Come on.
If you have a Nielsen box particularly, you should. If you don't, I guess it doesn't. It's like a tree falling in the forest.
I want you... Give me a number. So Dwayne, my trainer, is he's cut to the chase at times when I'm lollygagging. He's I need 30 minutes from you every day.
Yeah.
I need 30 fucking minutes from you, HM.
Yeah.
And I need your heart rate up for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? You think 15? 15's a good number, Chris Hayes? To be informed, to save democracy?
Oh no, I think if I would say for people that I would say 30 minutes to an hour of some kind of news. What do you want me to say?
Chris,
I spend 6 or 7 hours or 12 hours a day doing it. So
that
means nothing.
3 hours when they get home. Totally.
Okay, but here's the thing that I'll say about this. And again,
spouse,
no shade to
shitting,
anyone for any
showering,
dude.
children,
Okay,
connection,
buddy. Look at.
maybe intimacy.
Do you get the screen time notification on your phone on Sundays?
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah, it's gnarly. What does it say? It says 5 hour, 4.5,
Fucking
4 or 5.
Yeah.
So it's like people are like, I mean, again, I'm not guilting or shading anyone. People should do what they want to do. Like I'm not,
Yes.
but it is funny because people will be like, I just have no time for the news. And it's like, I absolutely know that your screen time notification is 5.5 hours. Like 100%. Like it definitely is.
Got it.
Like we actually have like time use data on this. Like people spend
A lot of time on their phones. Okay.
an unbelievable amount of time.
All right.
Look, if you could just do 15 minutes, that's great. If you could do up to an hour, I would say like after an hour. Look, sometimes like look, with some people who are news junkies, there's a mix of civic responsibility and entertainment, which is also fine. Like if news is your hobby, like I'm like an NBA junkie to the point where like I have league pass and I'm like, it's like a 10:30 Pacers Sacramento Kings game.
Don't you dare throw shade at the
And,
Kings.
and
Don't.
it's like
Stay up.
25-point lead and I'm watching it.
Great. Thank you.
Because I'm a sick person who just loves basketball. I'm like, there are some people who have that relationship to the news and it's like, go to town, like do whatever you want to do. But you don't have to spend 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day consuming news to be an informed citizen.
Let's talk about this idea that you
Are you a Kings fan?
I'm a huge Kings fan. I grew up.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
You
grew up in
grew
Northern
up there.
California. Yeah.
Wait,
So I thought you were about to say 10:30 p.m. It's the Pacers Kings. Fuck this. I'm turning it off. And I'm like,
I've loved this Kings team is sort of lame this year, unfortunately.
Sure,
and
unfortunately.
they've been fun previously.
Yeah.
Can I sidetrack the conversation for 1 second?
Or do you have a heart out? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to hold you to this.
I know. Again, I'll put 5 minutes on the clock.
Okay.
The Oakland A's Sacramento situation is so insane.
Yeah. But we deserve this.
But have you seen the trailer they're doing the press conferences in? Bro, they don't have the infrastructure for a Major League Baseball team.
Don't do this. Don't
So
do
they
this.
have this trailer that looks like a porta
For
potty.
those
I'm not
that
even
are
lying.
listening that aren't familiar with the depth of this, here's what MSNBC's Chris Hayes is doing. For years and years and years, Sacramento has asked, begged, pleaded.
Yes.
Commissioner Adam Silver, please, David Stern, RIP. Please let us host the All-Star game in Sacramento. They hosted in fucking Indianapolis.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
And they refuse. In fucking Utah, they refuse. Salt Lake City? Are you fucking kidding? And they refuse to let us host the All-Star weekend in Sacramento because we, quote, don't have the hotel accommodations. So let me get this straight. We can host Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and
That's
government
wild.
in action.
Is that really true?
Vis-a-vis, he was the guy. He had to be.
No, but I mean
South.
that they won't let Sacramento.
That is true because of like the city can't accommodate.
All right, sorry, I sidetracked us.
Yeah, so they make it sound like it's like this underdeveloped nation. How could we possibly host the Olympics here? It's war torn. I mean, the infrastructure is gone. It's been bombed to rubble. It's like the Capitol's. What are we talking about? The Capitol is there. And so the joke that you're making is that now the Oakland A's, which are going to go to Vegas, they now are playing at the Sacramento River Cats Stadium, which is our minor league baseball team.
Yes.
And now they're doing press conferences in essentially what looks like the portables of your elementary school.
Yes, because it's not a major league stadium, and this entire thing is happening.
You're saying we don't have the infrastructure is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah. Can someone pull up the picture?
Don't pull this up. I know what this looks like, man. I know what you're talking about.
I gotta show you the
what you're
picture.
talking
It's
about.
so freaking funny. I gotta go to my baseball thread here.
Sure, go to your baseball thread.
Oh yeah, here it is. See, I'm pulling up in this. That's what they're doing. The press conference.
Listen. Hey,
You seen it? Yeah. Anyway, I love Sacramento. It's a great town. I actually mean that.
You ever been?
I have been.
And Midtown's great.
Yeah.
They really.
I really
they
like Sacramento.
did.
So wait, no, just
Back
to
on
get back.
topic. Yeah,
so
yeah.
just to go back, so you can cut all that out. The thing I would say is like some people just like to consume the news because that's what they like, and like so they should consume as much as they want. But you shouldn't my point is that you shouldn't mistake.
Yeah.
Like there's people who are news junkies who want to do 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
You don't need that to be an informed citizen. That's my point.
Copy that. You talk about this idea of the paradox of the star and the fan. The star seeks recognition and gets instead attention. What is this?
This,
the
I think,
star and the fan.
The fundamental dynamic of social attention at scale on the internet, which I think is interesting because I think a lot of people can't relate to it because a lot of people don't like post and don't consume, like don't have incoming attention from strangers.
Yes.
But also the psychological destruction of this dynamic is the most important thing driving our politics. Like Elon Musk is the ultimate example of this. Basically, social attention from strangers is weird. We've known forever it drives people crazy. That's how we have tropes about like the rock star and the young starlet, right? Like you're not ready for fame. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your own life. I've experienced it's weird to be recognized. It's weird for strangers to have an opinion about you. At a certain point, because of social media, we democratize that experience of the madness of fame for any teenager with a phone.
Right.
All right. Now everyone can have social attention from strangers. Like, remember Jim Morrison? What did him in?
Yeah.
Let's just give it to everyone.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So now we have that for everyone. And it drives people crazy.
Everyday civilians can become celebrities.
Right. And increasingly that the social status hierarchy of the nation's culture centers around being known by people. I mean, if you read surveys about what teenagers want to be, they want to be influencers, right? Like, and what happens is attention, social attention isn't what we actually want from people. What we want is recognition. We want to be seen as human by another human. We want the things that come from relationships, whether that's love or friendship or kinship, right?
Yeah, acknowledgement.
Exactly. All these things.
Yeah.
What social media does is it gives you this kind of synthetic taste that's close enough to recognition, but not actually, that you keep chasing it. And Elon Musk
Newport writes about this, that it's a simulacrum.
Exactly.
It feels like it.
It feels like something real, but it's not. And you've seen, like, Elon Musk has truly driven himself, I think, insane chasing this. I mean, if you look at like the bar chart of his posts, he's posting 24 hours a day. He's constantly like, he's obsessed with this feedback from strangers, and he's looking for something that he can't find there, which is like, please love me as a human being.
Right.
It's like, you're not going to find it in your mentions
or understanding,
whatever
or
it is. You're not going to find it in your mentions.
Yeah.
You're going to find it in like your friends and family.
So how do people like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Kanye West, how do they become the holy trinity, the rock of the attention age?
Because those three, there's a House Judiciary Committee, the Republican staffers in the House Judiciary Committee at one point a few years ago just posted on their Twitter feed, Kanye, Elon, Trump.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, right, that is the access. And first of all, what they are trolls. They're so obsessed with attention that they will court negative attention,
right?
Even if it makes people dislike them because they need the attention.
Right.
And increasingly, we live in a culture dominated by trolls. Because attention is the most valuable resource, and because everything underneath that is kind of broken down, people chase it as an end to and of itself.
Yeah.
What it means is that negative attention is as good as positive attention.
Yeah.
And if you start just thinking about attention as opposed to love, relationships, respect, right? Then you just chase attention, and what you get are figures like Kanye and Elon and the President of the United States.
You cover politics every day. How do you out-troll a troll?
I just don't have this. I don't try to troll because I don't really have a troll's nature in me. I mean, part of the thing about trolling.
I'm not asking you. I'm saying even as like.
How does anyone deal with it?
How would anyone out-troll? How would anyone out-troll Elon?
Yeah, this is a real question. I think there's a question about, do you fight fire with fire or fight fire with water? Sure. And I don't know the answer to that yet. One thing I do think is you do have to...
Professional wrestling has the heel turn.
Right, yeah.
Which was famously when, Hogan had a heel turn when he joined WCW and NWO. Like, this is a thing.
Totally. I mean, Kanye just did you see Kanye's last interview with DJ Academics?
No, I did not.
He is in a full black KKK outfit.
Okay.
So it's like full, like, black hood, eyes.
Oh, geez.
But he's in his sort of notable Kanye way, like just doing an interview in it.
Oh, okay.
And it sort of goes unremarked.
Right.
It's like,
oh, he doesn't comment on it. Okay, got it.
I mean, he does at one point. I just saw clips. There's only so much of like that I can take.
Sure.
You can just cut in a little clip of that so discuss it. Look, I don't think you can out troll a troll, and I don't think that you can build a foundation for actually like humane, compassionate, righteous politics on trolling. So you have to figure out something else, but what you do have to do is you do have to center attention in how you think about civic discourse.
And I think, I'm really, what I'm asking is, does Mr. Beast need to be the campaign strategy advisor for every major political campaign? I'm not even joking.
No, I mean, the thing that's so interesting about Mr. Beast, if you listen to his interviews, is like how attuned he, like, he didn't set out with a vision.
But Senator Cory Booker literally just did a Mr. Beast thing.
But that's exactly what I was going to say. Is like Booker doing that was like, hey, here's an example of just trying something. Like maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. I actually even feel this way, weird as it is, about the Newsom podcast, which like I think is kind of lame and weird. But I don't know, he's trying something. Like It's weird for the governor to host a bunch of right-wing influencers on his podcast. But it's also trying something. Like I like what Cory Booker did more than I like what Gavin Newsom did. These are different visions of it. But the fundamental thing here, and you know, Mr. Beast learned this through trial and error on the algorithm, is you have to try things. Like that's the other thing, is that like it's a quantity game. It's how many shots you take.
Totally.
And no one's keeping track of your percentages.
That's going to be the thumbnail. It's going to be Cory Booker. I did a speech for 24 hours and I didn't pee.
Yeah. yeah.
Zach.
How did he do it?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. That's right. Zach, freeze that. AOC gives a homeless guy a Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. That's right. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That should be the thumbnail for this interview.
Sure. Done. Zach, print it. Bernie Sanders fights a cobra for healthcare. Like, what do we do about it? We're living inside of the slot machine. Yeah. How do you and I book a Southwest flight out of Vegas back to sanity?
I think there's a few levels to do this. One, that personal level of like take 30 minutes every day with your own thoughts. Two is like, I really do think people getting together physically is really more and more important. And there's all sorts of like, you can find a million tips about like leave your phone out of your room and charge it in another floor and all that stuff. Fine.
Right. And you talk about attention farmers markets in the book, which sounds like the most Brooklyn shit ever.
Well, but here's why I think it's important.
Yeah.
Industrial food production reached a point in the 70s and 80s of like a kind of dead end that people started to rebel against.
Yeah.
If you go and read like American recipe books from the 70s, it's like all Jell-O salads and Campbell's casseroles. There's even like meme accounts that like are like 70s recipes.
Yeah.
And what happened is people started to be like, I don't want to eat this slop. And at the first it was like weird bohemians. It was like, I'm going to start a whole grain store. And that kind of thing became an entire both countercultural movement, a set of institutions, an ethos, and then a set of businesses that transformed American culinary culture 100%. And I think we are right now in the sort of attentional version of like the 80s Jell-O salad slop era.
Got it.
That I think like people will look back on this the same way we look at those recipes and we're like,
are you fucking insane?
That's gross. Like, and for instance, even like one thing that I think increasing you're going to see, so much focuses on schools, which makes sense.
Yes.
I think more and more indoor places, whether coffee shops, restaurants, are just going to be like no phones.
I mean, we do that with comedy shows.
Comedy were one of the first.
Yonder is one of the first people, and shout out to Yonder and Chappelle. They were like, lock the phone.
Yonder,
like, I need you here for an hour.
Yonder
and it's only going to work.
Has done it for comedy, and they've done it for concerts.
Yes.
But I think you're going to find different ways, and you don't even have to use a Yonder pouch. Like when you go to SNL, they don't use Yonder. They're just like, don't take your phone out. We'll kick you out.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
yeah.
You know, and you want to minimize the amount of friction and conflict that like the wait staff has to do. But like, I feel like you could do that in a restaurant and people will be like, well, you know, I'm away from my kid who has a sitter. It's like, yeah, my parents were away from us.
Yeah.
Had a sitter, was fine. Yeah. Like, you'll figure it out.
Well, okay. Like, all right.
So I think there's individual things, there's cultural things, and then I do think there's actually like legislative, regulation to think about.
Well, to me, this is the problem is that you've opted me in vis-a-vis digital microplastics, and what I mean by that, and I've told these guys this, they've seen my boomer rant. The QR code was the gateway into Dante's Inferno of hell. Meaning when I would go to a restaurant and I go, can I please have a physical menu? And they go, QR code. And I go, please, for the love of God, I came here to eat
because now we're both taking our phone out.
So let's talk about the thing that will trigger everybody in the comments, which is the kids. Okay. Yeah. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old. You have 3 children.
Yep.
I have a question you can answer, you cannot answer. Do your children have smartphones?
So my oldest started taking the subway to school in 6th grade and got a smartphone then.
Yeah.
The middle child goes to school often by himself and has a watch for like being able to be like, I'm going to the Y.
Yeah.
And not the youngest.
So there's a lot of like middle schoolers that do the Dick Tracy of just like, hey mom,
Yeah.
or there's the dumb phones that can just call like mom, dad,
Exactly.
babysitter,
So like,
etc.
and like, this is something we're wrestling with all the time. I don't want my 13-year-old on social media, but then she sort of lobbied for Snapchat, which is sort of a messaging app,
Right.
but it's also very gamified, and I don't love that. We're all dealing with these micro decisions.
I have a daughter, right? And and she's still 7, and it's so great. And by the way, if you love hoops, like she's starting to dribble, and this is my new dad flex. I let her fucking dribble the rock in the house. I don't give a fuck. Destroy the house. She dribbles all over the house.
That's funny. My son is calling me on his watch. Wait,
Do you want to pick up?
Hey, buddy, I'm in the middle of a podcast. What's up?
So sorry, but I just want to say I'm at the park.
Okay, great.
So you come pick me up?
I'll come pick you up and bring you to basketball.
Perfect.
Love you, bud.
Incredible.
Keep that one in if you want.
Yeah. But yeah, my daughter straight up dribbles the rock in the house.
Yeah,
She'll straight
that's
up.
great. That's a cool
she's
dad
bouncing
move.
a
That's a cool dad
Spalding.
move.
Yeah,
but are you
fucking up
like
the
work on
carpet.
your offhand?
Yeah, I actually I tell her to be like, hey, do both.
You can hoop.
both.
I've seen you hoop.
I don't say that. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. No, because when you say stuff like that, people really do come for you. And now the NBA guys have podcasts,
okay,
and it's like you do.
I know,
cannot
but here's
speak
the
out of
thing I
pocket.
said to my son about basketball, which is really important. I said, the thing about basketball is that it's infinite almost, the layers of how good people can be.
I'm good for an Indian weatherman. Like, I'm good for a guy who looks like me. And people are like, yeah. But I am not good in comparison to
but like none of
guys who can really play.
Right, but like there's D1 players who are not good compared to NBA players.
Sure.
And there's guys who started at D3 who couldn't. Like,
Yeah.
the thing about basketball is that like it goes up so far.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Here's my fear with her is that in the impending doom that I feel with the schools, which is you're forcing me to opt in through the QR code.
Yeah.
Hey, we need this to check in.
Yeah.
It's the guise of safety. This is for you.
Totally
it's the
agree.
guise of safety and convenience. But I know the moment she picks up that rectangle of sadness, it is the gateway portal into anxiety and depression and comparison and anorexia and all of these just like horrible things that are affecting our kids. And I'm seeing this 7-year-old just dribble and be spunky and fun and spontaneous.
Yeah.
And I know the moment she gets that, all of those other things have entered the table. Now I can try to fight, I can try to box them out, but they have entered the chat quite literally. And I'm at this weird juncture of we're playing this very dark, sadistic game of would you rather as parents, which is we know it's the phones that are causing all of this. And this is a huge topic on PTA Reddit where they're like, do not take away the phones. I have to be able to call my kid if there's a school shooter.
That's
and I'm like,
deranged.
which
I'm
way
sorry.
do you want it? Do you want
Well, it's not deranged. I disagree with that. I don't
do you
want
want to be able to call your kid if there's a school shooter or give them a phone so they become so mentally ill that they become the school shooter? Like, this
So
is what
dark.
we're dealing with. I know it's a dark joke, and that is a darkjoke.com. Like, and I have to do that now because this is on in the internet. It's a dark joke. I am joking. But that is the weird, if this was a meme, that's the weird meme. And how do you reconcile
I do
that?
think this thing of like, I do think that kids need more independence and freedom. And I do think the phone becomes this like weird tether and anchor. And the point I just said before about, oh, if you go out to dinner and you have the sitter, but you don't have your phone and something happens, like, right, yeah, well, we figured that out for decades. It's like,
Yeah.
you can tell them what restaurant you're going to and they can call the restaurant. Like,
Well, this is where...
like, all this stuff, I do think that this is one place where I agree with, there's a few places I agree with Jonathan Haidt's, Anxious Generation, is that everyone focuses sort of on the phone part of that book. But another big part of it is like kids need independence and free play and free time. And like my kids do have that. Like my 11-year-old right now is at the park by himself.
He's just shooting hoops.
He's playing in a playground.
Oh,
but
great.
he'll go to the Y by himself.
Okay.
My 13-year-old commutes on the train every day. New York City. She navigates the train. Like, I really, really strongly believe in giving kids like physical autonomy to a certain extent. Yeah. And not every kid's the same. I'm not telling any parent, like, we all make these judgments. It's not like I'm on my high horse. Yeah. But I do think as a key part of this whole thing is like the phone becomes an extension of parental neurosis in a way that I think can be really unhealthy.
I was also grappling with this of the idea of, is it worse or are we romanticizing the past? Because I saw this old New York magazine cover And, you know, I become the back in my day.
Totally.
And we can throw that up real quick.
It's,
you know, this was a New York Magazine cover in June of 1995.
Do you remember how big that movie was?
This was Harmony Korine's movie. It was called
Kids.
And if you look at that title, The Kids Aren't All Right. The summer's most controversial movie is a disturbing picture of sex and dope and casual brutality. By the way, this was my dad's worst fucking nightmare when it came to me. This is exactly what he thought would happen if I left the house after 3:30 p.m. after school. He'd be like, you're going to go walk outside with
Get
a
a
kid,
40.
Yeah, who has a 40. You might meet a white girl who has short shorts.
Yeah.
You might have sex with her and
Then
then
you're
wear your hat backwards. And all of that seemed pretty cool to me at the time. I was like, I'm in for that. Seems pretty
that all
interesting.
sounds like a great day.
But like you look at the numbers now, there's declining birth rates. Kids are dating later. Alcohol consumption is way down. So is it better now? Like,
That's the thing.
Was it worse then?
Did you see that Dax Shepard had Jonathan Haidt on, and they had a really good exchange about this, where it's like, and it is, people do really need to understand this.
Yes.
A lot of the things that we were like, this is what's wrong with teenagers today, which was drugs, alcohol, teen pregnancy, even eating disorders, like have declined a bit from the peak when I was, you know, in like 9th or 10th grade.
Yeah.
Like they've all gone down. And part of that is because people are on the phones and stuff.
Right.
Like they're not going out and like drinking at 14 the way that kids did back then because they're bored.
And I mean, by the way, the number one show on Netflix right now is Adolescence. And it's this weird, again, a weird, dark dealer's choice. This is a weird thing of like, would you rather have your son inside his bedroom watching Andrew Tate videos or hanging out with that skateboarder who is carpet bombing the entire East Village with AIDS? Which way do you want it?
I mean, to me, are you asking me?
I'm sure.
I mean, this is my nostalgia, but I would rather have them out than watching Andrew Tate in their
You're like,
in their
just
room.
go out and skateboard through the East Village and you'll figure it out. Like,
I mean, partly again is like that's one of these dumb things that middle-aged people do. It's like, well, it was fun for us, but I do think it's important actually to think about these trade-offs because I think they are real. They are very obviously connected.
Yeah.
Very obviously. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
can tell you with a straight face that like all this stuff happening and the phones are not related.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worthwhile talking about these trade-offs. It's worthwhile sort of not being ahistorical about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, one of the big messages I have is I think with this conversation, we do have a tendency to displace our own anxiety onto the kids. And it's really true. And like they are like, we should think about them. But a lot of this conversation is about us.
Yeah.
And about how we live in the world and how comfortable we are with our own minds. I mean, every parent has had the following experience. Sitting there on your phone. Your son comes over. He's like, Dad, can I have screen time? I'm like, no, just go figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
Like, everyone has done that.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Go read a book.
yeah, go read a book. Come on.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that, so I do think that like part of it is like starting with us is one thing to
start with us.
think about. Yeah, start with us.
Go to settings on your phone. Let me see your screen time.
Oh my God, dude, really?
Hey man, you've been preaching all day. I want to see if the pastor's really about that life.
No, I'm not about that life. It's like I wrote a recovery memoir and I'm a drunk. Oof, bro, this is tough.
Come on, show me.
This is tough.
It's not worse than Mehdi Hassan's. Show me.
No, it's not. I will say I do this professionally, but it's not a good look.
6 hours, 28 minutes. God damn.
I wrote the book for a reason, man. Smash that like button. Smash and follow.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Call it podcast.
This was great, man. That was great, man.
That was awesome.